Hi, and welcome to episode 90 of C3 Crystals, Cauldrons, and Cocktails. I'm Wren,
And I'm River.
and today we are going to be talking about seance magic.
We
Yay!
are. I'm so excited. We had a little bit of a switcheroo. This was supposed to be Astral Magic, and we ended up doing it as an After Dark. So this is
Yeah,
now our main episode coming out on June 16th.
yeah, I think that was my bad, okay? Because
Well, I was right there
I
with
mean,
you.
I started to do notes again, now that I'm not in school anymore and I'm currently unemployed,
A
deadbeat.
deadbeat.
um with deadbeat, and so I'm currently unemployed, so I've had more time, and so I've been making doing my own notes again, and we get on to record Astral Magic, and it says you had the right header. It said
I
welcome to
did.
episode 90, and I go, no, right now we're supposed to be recording a bonus because it comes out this coming Sunday. We need to record
Hmm.
it so we can get it posted. And you were like, oh yeah, okay. And so we switched it all, and then what was it, a day later we sit down, we're like, okay, we need to record our next actual episode, and you're like, we messed up.
We did. And all of the social media had already said, our schedule and all that. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And we're like,
Yeah,
well,
and I was just like, this is why we don't tell people what we're doing. Because this could all have happened behind the scenes and everything would have been fine, but everybody knew what was going on.
oh
Ah,
my God.
we
Well,
were trying to be ahead, and then now we just messed up.
and
Classic us.
we're actually classic us. We're actually recording early in the morning today because we had other things to do and we really got to get this out.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so we're not drinking alcohol. Not that I wouldn't in the morning, but just I got too much stuff to do today. So I'm
Hmm.
drinking Irish breakfast tea, which is one of my favorites. And I
Yeah,
think
I've
you're
never had it.
drinking tea too. Are you drinking tea?
Yes. Yes, I'm drinking English breakfast, which is different because actually, this whole past week, my husband and I, we've just been playing video games. Again, deadbeat, right? And so, like, my husband, he does like this work from home thing when he's not busy, blah, blah, blah. And so
Hmm.
we've just been playing video games, and we've been doing, I brew this massive pot of tea, and we just split it, you know? And so right now I'm drinking out of that. But this past couple of days, I've been into coffee, and
Oh,
I have a little Nespresso machine. And so I've just
fun.
been like, I've been kicking out the Nespresso drinks, and they're all different like flavors and everything. So, but today I was feeling tea.
That's nice. Yeah, I had a specialty coffee the other morning. My husband took me out for breakfast because we both work from
Oh,
home half the time too. Sometimes he's
uh-huh,
not home
uh-huh.
today, but um, and so I had a white chocolate mocha coffee,
Ooh, that sounds amazing.
which my husband says that's not coffee. He drinks his black.
Oh,
So,
okay, which is valid to your husband because yeah, he drinks it black, and then he always, whenever we have coffee together, if we all do the breakfast thing like we do
mm-hmm,
sometimes do,
mm-hmm,
he'll always get coffee, and then he's always surprised when I get coffee, and then
mm-hmm.
I dump a whole ton of like half and half in it, and he's like, yeah, no,
And
that's
now it's not coffee
yeah, now
anymore.
it's not coffee.
Okay, well, seance magic. So first of all, what exactly is a seance? It is a meeting at which people attempt to make contact with the dead, especially
Mhm.
through the agency of a medium.
Yeah, which I could potentially be, but I'm scared.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Also, a seance, in terms of Wikipedia and, you know, WikiHow type of vibe,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a seance is a term that refers to a spiritual or paranormal practice aimed at communicating with the spirits of the deceased. It is often conducted by a group of individuals who gather in a specific setting with the intention of contacting spirits or receiving messages from the spiritual realm.
Mm-hmm. I like
Dur-
that.
yeah, during a seance, participants typically sit in a circle holding hands, singing Kumbaya. No, I'm just kidding. Or placing their hands on the table while a designated medium or facilitator leads the session. The medium acts as a conduit between the living and the spirits, attempting to establish communication or channel messages from the other side. Okay. And from this, I've seen it on TikTok. It's a show or a movie. I think it's a show. I don't know if it's a movie
Okay.
or not, but it's this medium. She sits down at this table, and it's a scene from the show. And so you have lawyers and everything. So you have the ex-wife and then the current wife of this old man. And it's like she's like a sugar baby type of vibe. And then the ex-wife is like she looks like a hag, like an
Okay.
old hag, right?
Okay.
And in the will, it says that this man left everything to his sugar baby, right?
Okay.
And so there's arguing because, the ex-wife is like, that's not fair. Like, I spent most of my life with him, and it's just like back and forth. The new mistress, I guess I will say right now, is like, well, I gave him the best, like, but it's funny. And then so this medium comes and sits down to channel, and it's very normal. It's not like this is a taboo thing. Like this is her job, like to
Okay.
do this. And
Okay.
she literally channels him and turns into him. Like her whole, like she slumps down, like how he would probably sit, and her eye color changes, and she's him, like it's his voice coming out of her body.
Okay.
And he said something like along the lines of like, I wrote this in my will, blah blah blah. The old hag gets nothing, and then he winks at his new like mistress sugar baby and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and then it's all she gets out of it, like the spirit leaves, and she's like, again, I'm so sorry, like deepest condolences. And it's super funny. I can't remember the name of it, but when I was doing these notes, that's the scene I kept thinking about.
I want to know what that show is. I want to watch it. That's
I'll have to look
hilarious.
it up, but it seems like one of the best shows. It's like that like slapsticky type of
Uh-huh.
humor, but also like you're touching on things like mediums and everything. And
Oh,
she
that's
it
great.
was like she was a part of this like law firm where that was her job.
That is so funny. What
It's
a neat
so
world. I
funny.
love that
Right?
idea.
Right? I love that. That's all I could think about while doing these.
Well, that kind of makes me think of the ghost whisperer. She's not a medium,
Oh
but
yeah.
she can see ghosts and she helps them
Yeah.
cross over and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Seance comes from a French word from the verb that means to sit, which makes sense because you're sitting around a table usually. And it's used to describe gatherings of people who enjoy some sort of entertainment, such as a movie while seated. So that's the meaning of the French word that seance comes from.
Okay.
Seances are conducted in many paranormal investigations, like we've talked about before, the ghost hunters and that kind of thing, investigations of haunted places, and it helps to produce evidence of a haunting, perhaps, or to obtain
Mm.
information about
Mm-hmm.
ghosts that are expected to be present.
Mm-hmm.
Seances are often held in the home of either the medium or one of the sitters, but they can take place anywhere two or more people gather for such a purpose.
Okay, so I watch a show like kind of like Ghost Hunters. I watched Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, all the
Mm-hmm.
people who go in and,
Mm-hmm.
talk to these spirits. That is considered a seance or no? Because it's not
Well,
the whole like
no,
the
I
whole
think
thing.
those groups often have a seance. They often hold a seance in a haunted house, or
Hmm.
they bring a medium who can actually
Okay.
contact the dead. So just going in there and having their little gadgets that, pick up the cold spots and all of that is
Hmm.
not a
Hmm.
seance in and of itself, but they often do hold a seance to try to bring those spirits more vocally forward.
Okay. Um, Based off of that, let's get into some history.
Okay.
Okay, so the history of seances is intertwined with the rise of spiritualism, a
Mm-hmm.
belief system that gained popularity in the 19th century. And I know a lot about this. I love like this stuff. And then also the other podcasts that we listen to, um, one of the hosts goes into a whole thing. Like I think they do a lot of like back-to-back episodes in multiple parts where they talk about the era of spiritualism.
Okay.
So, spiritualism emerged in the United States and quickly spread to other parts of the world. So, an overview of the history of seance and spiritualism and the early influences. So, I've kind of chunked it into
Okay.
time.
Okay.
So, early influences where the roots of spiritualism can be traced back to various cultures and religious movements that include ancient practices of communicating with the dead, such as necromancy,
Mm-hmm.
and the revivalism of the Second Great Awakening in the 19th century. The Fox sisters. So the modern spiritualist movement is often attributed to the experience of the Fox sisters, Margareta and Catherine, I think that's how you say her name, in Hydesville, New York in 1848. They claim they have communicated with the spirit through like rappings. I'm not quite
like knocking, I think knocking,
and became famous as mediums, leading to widespread interest in spirit communication.
I have a story about the Fox sisters later on in the podcast. They actually visited the White House during this time frame.
Oh, see, I think I know that. Like I'm so interested in this, but I also have so many like different like bits and pieces that I get them confused.
Well, and so I read so many things, and a lot of the worlds that I read about, this urban fantasy likes to bring in the spiritualist angle on things. So I don't remember which parts are real and which parts are not real.
Exactly. Like Houdini. Wasn't Houdini?
He was real.
He was real, but he also liked to debunk people who weren't real. Right?
Yeah, okay. He was the great escape artist.
Yeah.
That magician.
But he made it like a hobby to like discredit the ones who were faking.
Yeah, because I think he was actually spiritual himself. And I think, which may be why he got into the magic, MAGIC, not MAGICK, because of his interest in the spiritualist. And so it drove him really to anger whenever people were trying to fake the spiritualism. So,
yeah, I could see that. See, I only know like a little bit of that too, you know? So, development of the spiritualist practices. So, spiritualism gained momentum as mediums and seances became popular. Seances were conducted as a means of establishing contact with the spirits, like with methods of table turning, automatic writing, spirit trumpets. Mediums acted as like the between part of the living and the spirit realm. And I want to say like a lot of them had like those switches underneath the tables, the ones who weren't real and all of that.
All kinds of gimmicks to trick people, which is so sad.
I know. I
mean, con artists.
But you also have to appreciate it too, because that's how they made a living.
I understand, but
it's so sad that they preyed on those types of feelings and everything from those people. But that's a way that they discovered that they could make money, and you have to make a living.
But then the people that were the real ones were discredited too by association. Yeah.
Spiritualist organizations and publications. Spiritualism attracted a large following, leading to the formation of spiritualist organizations and publications of numerous books and periodicals dedicated to the movement. These organizations held meetings, public demonstrations, and seances, which contributed to the spread of this belief. In the height of the popularity, so spiritualism reached its peak in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. And I'm so bad with history. What was happening during these times?
Oh, Lord, I have no idea.
Late 19th, early 20th. So the
late 1800s, early 1900s.
1900s. And like that was when like
okay, I'm showing my ignorance. Well, that was in the 20s. The 20s.
That was in the 20s. So I don't know. I just feel like these time periods are like hot and fast and booming and exciting, and then we have our times where we just reached the 21st century, which is like the equivalent to the 19th to the 20th, and from the 20th to the 21st. It's very boring. We have nothing like this. We don't have like a height of spiritualism. Nothing like this. No seances going around and people debunking these seances. Like, where's our fun?
What's going on with us?
Yeah, where's our fun? So, and then these were particularly in Western countries.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So seances were conducted in private homes, public halls, and theaters, attracting participants and curious observers alike. Prominent mediums gained recognition and conducted elaborate seances to communicate with spirits. So there was obviously skepticism, and there's obviously a decline when you have a, height of
Mm-hmm.
popularity, there's a decline.
Mm-hmm.
So as spiritualism gained prominence, skepticism and investigators into fraudulent practices also emerged. So
Mm-hmm.
critics exposed instances of trickery, illusions, and manipulation used by mediums to deceive the participants.
Yeah.
These revelations, coupled with the advent of scientific advancements and changing societal attitudes, led to a decline in spiritualism popularity.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get into contemporary practices. So, although spiritualism experienced a decline in the mid 20th century, some individuals and spiritualist organizations continue to practice seances and mediumship to this day. So,
Mm-hmm.
modern seances may incorporate a range of techniques, including traditional methods as well as newer technologies such as electronic voice phenomena or EVP or
Mm-hmm.
spirit box communications.
Mm-hmm. That podcast that we listened to, and one of the ones that we listened to, and that's why we drink.
Mhm.
One of the two hosts used to be a paranormal investigator, and
Mhm.
so she is very well versed in the EVP and the spirit box communication, and she is a true believer because she's experienced it. So there are real ones out there. Unfortunately, there are still con artists out there who prey on the people who need it the most, which is very sad. But seances actually were mentioned in the Bible. So they go way, way back in history. Prior to the rise in spiritualism and Western culture, it was mentioned in the Bible. And then I think we've talked about Homer's work where in our necromancy episode, where we talked about a seance was held so that he could speak to the dead. And oh, did you know in ancient Greece, a temple known as the Oracle of the Dead was built on top of a sacred hill to provide a venue for meetings between those who still dwelled in this world and those who no longer dwelled in this world who had passed over. So there's an actual ancient Greek temple known as the Oracle of the Dead. And I know that you studied a lot of architecture and stuff from that time period. Did you know about
Mhm.
that particular one?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not.
Okay.
So, throughout its history, seances and spiritualism have sparked debates between believers, skeptics, and researchers invested in exploring the phenomena from scientific, psychological, or paranormal perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
They have left a significant cultural and historical impact, influencing not only the realm of spiritual beliefs, but also the development of magic entertainment and the study of human psyche.
Yeah, I feel
So,
like um, science can only help the real ones, because it's easy now. Well, not easy, but it's easy to show the ones that are faking it. We can all
mhm,
figure out, oh, there's wires there and there's, this switch does this and that's all fake. But it also doesn't solve the ones that are real because there is
mhm.
no gimmick there. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like science helps magic as well because when it can't be explained, then that leaves the possibility that it is real
yeah. I mean,
or just maybe something we haven't figured out yet. But
something we haven't figured out yet.
I do like that science delves into this and tries to explain it. I love
Mhm.
science, even though I'm not a
Oh,
science
yeah,
person,
yeah,
but I love the asking of questions and the exploring to find out if it's real or not real, testing those theories.
yeah. And I was super curious about how it connected. I know it connects to witchcraft, like, but not
Hmm.
like a medium doesn't have to be a witch,
Right.
but I was curious. And so I found a couple of things where a seance can be connected to the realm of magic in several ways, depending on the context and the specific beliefs or practices that are involved. Everything
Okay.
is like so different with magic, like
Hmm.
you have people who practice hoodoo, you have people who practice Wicca, who are in Wicca, you have people who just don't follow rules at all, so
Hmm.
like there's so many things that I think can connect to seances,
Hmm.
and there's a different way to approach seances in each belief.
Okay.
And so, mediums who conduct seances were considered to possess supernatural or magical abilities to connect with the spirit world and convey these messages from the deceased. I don't know how much of that I believe
Hmm.
because, like, again, mediums don't have to constantly practice magic. Like, you don't have to practice magic to be a medium.
Right. I mean, some
And so,
people can just see other spirits, and
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know that the spirits are actually dead people or just us reaching into another dimension or another realm or whatever. But these
yeah,
people have the ability to see those things. Like two of our patrons have talked to us. They've sent us emails about their experiences and seeing
hmm
ghosts and that kind of thing, which is the coolest thing.
hmm
And but it doesn't have to be magic. It's not that they're practicing magic to see the ghosts. It's just something that
yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah. So you have for seances, there are ritualistic practices, which
Hmm.
can link to, like we have ritualistic
Right.
practices.
Hmm.
So
Unless you're a
say
chaos magic person.
then you don't do anything. You
Right.
once, twice, blah.
Right.
So seances can incorporate these ritualistic elements that align with magical practices. So participants may engage in specific gestures, chants, incantations, or have the use of like symbolic objects to create an atmospheric con conduit,
Conducive. Yeah.
yeah, to spirit communication. These rituals can evoke a sense of mystery, mysticism, and supernatural like elements that are associated with magic.
Yeah. So
And
those
it's
I
like
mean, it is like magic when you
yeah,
put
when you
the
add that stuff, like,
ritualistic. Yeah.
yeah, like you
Yeah.
add what's meaningful in your practice to said
Hmm.
seance, then you have that connection
Hmm.
there. Um, Psychic abilities are definitely, I want to say, magic, but also not magic. It's
Yeah.
wishy-washy. I'm
Hmm.
50-50 on this. So in some cases, seances may involve individuals who claim to possess psychic or supernatural powers, and then these individuals are often referred to as psychics or clairvoyant, and they may perform magical feats or demonstrations during a seance, such as divination, telepathy, all of that. So
Hmm.
such practices are closely linked to the domain of magic and supernatural abilities, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
say it is magic.
Hmm.
And then, of
Again, it
course,
just might be someone who has that ability.
yeah, yeah. And
Like they did those experiments in the 70s on people trying to, I think in the Cold War, they were trying to use people that had these innate psychic abilities to use them as spies and to do that kind of
hmm
thing.
hmm
And so some people just have an innate ability to do that. And they aren't even witches. They don't have anything to do with witchcraft. And then some that have those abilities do put them to use in their practice and they are witches.
hmm yeah. And see, like, so it's like intertwined, but it also doesn't
Hmm.
have to be.
Correct.
And then obviously we're going to talk about like conjuring effects.
Okay.
So seances can sometimes incorporate like these theatrical and
Hmm.
illusionistic elements to create a sense of wonder and paranormal phenomena.
Hmm.
These effects may involve stage magic techniques such as misdirection, sleight of hand, or like the use of sudden devices to stimulate spirit manifestations.
Hmm.
While these effects are not genuinely supernatural occurrences, they can enhance the atmosphere and overall experience of a seance. So, like a
Which,
show.
you know, we talked about tulpa before and how that is created by belief. And so
hmm
when you do these misdirections and sleight of hands, your audience believes it, and that might create the tulpa effect and make these things real. It might actually
Yeah,
help
yeah, yeah.
cross the
hmm
borders of whatever.
Wasn't there, I think we talked about it in our Tulpa episode, wasn't there where they held a seance and they tried to make this this spirit
Yes.
real. Like even though he wasn't real, they pulled facts from like that would actually
Yes.
be facts from that era that they were trying to make him from, and they held a séance to make him real.
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
that was in our Tulpa episode. Go
hmm
listen to that, y'all, if you haven't. I'm not sure if it was a regular episode or an After Dark episode, but
I can't. I don't.
go
I don't
find
remember.
it because it was fascinating. That was one of
It
my
was very fascinating.
favorite episodes. So if you want to do a seance, how do you do it? And
Yeah.
one of the sites I go to all the time and researching for our podcast is Witches of the Craft. That
I thought you
site
were going
is
to say WikiHow.
that too. I think I have a WikiHow on here too. I almost always
WikiHow
do.
to do a seance.
I think there is one. I probably have that. I don't know if I do or not, but we'll find out. So, first of all, you have to figure out what is your purpose in holding a seance. You should always have a purpose in mind. It's not a game.
No, yeah.
So think about what it is that you're wanting to do, who you're wanting to contact, what kind of questions you need answered. Who are you going to invite? Who are you going to have at your seance? It's best to only have believers because skeptics can cause negative energy that could affect the seance. Also, if your guests are wanting to talk to someone themselves, they should bring an item belonging to the dead person that they're hoping to contact in order to have a connection with that person. Photographs are especially good for this. Mm-hmm. Create a spirit-friendly atmosphere. So people, like you said, like to conduct a seance at a round or oval table. But if neither is available, that you don't worry about it. You can just drape a table with fabric or sheets. Some people prefer light colors because they want to attract, quote, friendly spirits, but it's just a matter of personal preference. That's not to say if you put a black tablecloth on, you're going to only get evil spirits.
Yeah, it's like you put down a black tablecloth and all the good spirits go, ooh. No,
we're not going to go.
Or like vice versa, where you put down a white one and all the bad ones are like, oh, white, oh.
It's a unicorn, no.
Oh,
no. Let's see. So if you want to use incense, make sure that no one in your group is allergic to it. You can put incense anywhere in the room. You can put it on the table, but if the person is allergic to it or someone doesn't like the smell, you can put it away from the table. Candles are a nice addition as well. Not only do they provide light for visibility, but there's also the school of thought that spirits are attracted to heat and light sources. And which is interesting because, if spirits are ghosts that are stuck here and they're trying to find the light, to have them, it makes sense that they would be seeking out light sources to try to find their way across, if that's what that is. Also, it doesn't hurt to mind the other theories that we know about spirits, like they don't like metals or salt. So make sure that your table is free of those things as much as possible. Make sure that your guests will be respectful of the spirits and other guests. So turn off all cell phones, that kind of thing. If anyone needs to go to the bathroom or smoke or whatever, they need to do that before you begin. You don't want to break in the middle of the seance. That'll disrupt everything.
That connection.
Set the thermostat at a comfortable temperature. Remember that some spiritual activity can cause fluctuations in levels of cold or heat. You can smudge or cleanse the area with sage or sweetgrass before you even start. That helps get any negative energies and cleanse the space and make it ready. Once everyone is seated, you can help everybody relax by doing a short guided meditation. You might offer a prayer if that's your thing, or cast a protective circle, which is almost always a good idea, I think, if your tradition requires you to do so. You can hold hands or not. Seances can go on for a long time, so it might get really uncomfortable to be holding this person's hand, these people's hands next to you, and get sweaty palms and all that. So you don't have to hold hands.
Oh boy, my palms get sweaty.
You should pick one person to lead the seance, which is usually the medium or the facilitator, whoever it is. And they should be the one who asks the questions and addresses the spirits specifically. So spirits might respond in different ways. They might thump on the wall or whatever, like one thump for yes, two thumps for no. They might flicker the lights of the candles that you have on the table. Which is also a way that people in the frauds in the spiritualistic times, they would have, currents of air that would flow across the table that would make the candles flicker, that kind of thing.
Or someone on the other side of the wall doing the thumps, like, one thump, and there's like a thin wall so they can hear through it. Yeah.
Also, the spirits might actually choose to speak through someone, like you were talking about in that TikTok show, the scene from the show on TikTok, where it actually embodied the leader. But the spirit might not choose the leader to be the one to embody. It might actually go into a different person and
Ooh.
speak. Yeah,
Ooh.
which so they need to be prepared for that as well. You need to make sure that they understand that that's a possibility so that they
Mm-hmm.
don't freak out. You actually can get responses from deceased pets.
Oh,
I know,
oh, I want that.
I know.
Actually, speaking of deceased pets, this has took a turn.
What,
I had a
what,
dream.
yeah.
I had a dream and it was my pet, like Ariel, who had passed
Mm-hmm.
away, and she came in my dream and she told me that it was okay and that she loved me and she spent time with me in my dream and
Wow.
everything. And I don't usually have dreams like that. Like usually they're
Yeah.
not. But it was a day where I had it was a hard day missing her.
Mm-hmm.
And because I had seen something on TikTok of she was a dachshund, so it was of a dachshund, and
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, this dachshund had cancer, and so the
Oh.
person was documenting all the things that she was feeding this dachshund, like her baby, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so the dachshund had get French fries and little puppy dog ice cream and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. And so it reminded me a lot of my dog. And so
Mm-hmm.
I just started crying and
Yeah.
crying. It was just really hard because I miss her a lot.
And then that dream came that
And then
night?
that night I had that dream where she was with me, she was playing with me, she was rolling around and happy, and
Oh.
she had told me that she was okay and that she loved me and that we'll see each other again.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry.
I'm not meaning to make you cry and I'm gonna cry thinking about it, but thinking of dreams, like I don't usually
Mm-hmm.
have dreams like that. She communicated with me that way,
That's
I
very
think.
cool. Yeah.
I think.
In a seance, if you have several people that are very open-minded or gifted, you might end up with several spirits at once. And it's up to the leader to try to control this. Although
Mm-hmm.
the dead don't necessarily want to be cooperative, so it can be a difficult time. The medium also needs to be prepared for all that kind of thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a seance will bring an uninvited spirit. And in this case, when you have a spirit that seems malevolent or mischievous, the leader should say something like, "You're not wanted here. We thank you for
Uh-huh.
we thank you for your presence, but now it's time for you to move on."
Yeah.
And if an entity arrives that seems angry or hostile and will not leave, no matter what you do, then you need to end the seance.
Hmm.
Chances are good that it was attracted to someone in your group who is dysfunctional. I,
Would you
I,
count a Ouija board as a seance?
I think so.
So then we had like when my husband and I did it, we had that spirit that kept trying to leave the board.
Hmm.
And I mean, but when we said goodbye, it went to goodbye. So it
Hmm.
wasn't like
Hmm.
ugh,
Yeah,
ugh, ugh.
I didn't find how exactly there is no goodbye in a seance, but
Hmm.
you do need to close the door. So like when you're done with the seance, it's important that the guests thank the spirits for coming to visit. After all, you would do that if you were a living person, you thank them for coming to your
Hmm.
house.
Hmm.
Um, if one of your attendees seems to have slipped into a trance or a sleep-like state during the seance, you need to allow them to return gradually. You don't want to shake them awake. The chances
Hmm.
are they'll have a message for someone whenever they do come back to the group.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
close the seance by telling the spirits farewell, thanking them, asking them to move along. You may want to offer a small blessing or prayer at the end of the formal seance, but bear in mind that some spirits like to hang around after a seance, after it's officially finished. And it could be that they're just curious. They might return later in a dream, like you were just
Hmm.
talking about, which is kind of creepy because I like the finality of the Ouija board where you say goodbye and that closes
Where
the
you
door.
say goodbye.
I'm not sure how I feel
But
about
then
them. I
what
picked.
keeps them from like saying goodbye but sticking around?
I don't know.
Like why is there a there I mean, there's not like a finite rule, you know?
Yeah,
Like we are people created. the Ouija board to
Hmm.
communicate, and then we recreated these rules. So why did the spirits have to
Yeah.
follow those rules
The
if we
spirits are
created them?
like, I'm not going to follow those stinking rules. I mean, I
Yeah,
can
so
just picture this ghost sitting on the sofa after it's done smoking a cigarette, going, that was cool. I'm going to chill out here a bit.
yeah, I'm gonna hang out, and then like they
Yeah,
just
I'm
stick
just going,
around, like even yeah, like it's just like what makes them like what makes us feel safe in the idea that they follow our rules when they're dead. They don't have, you know?
they don't have rules anymore. Yeah, I think a lot of it is the intent, and that goes back to the witchcraft part of this. The intent of the caster or the medium or whoever's in charge of the seance, that intent is what carries the force and the energy. And so if
Hmm.
they do close that door, then theoretically they close that door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Hmm.
So this fascinated me. There are first ladies who actually did seances in the White House. I had no idea.
I think I knew this. I knew part of this. Wasn't one of the first ladies like okay, I see it in your notes. I'm not going to spoil
Okay.
anything. Okay.
Okay. All right. So the first one was Julia Bardner Tyler. She was the wife of John Tyler, our 10th president. Julia claimed to have extrasensory perception, ESP, and that she could
Hmm.
also levitate and summon
Oh,
ghosts at will.
shoot.
Miss Tyler had a party where mediums gathered and performed their tricks, including making the table levitate. Julia's sister believed in her powers so much that she wrote to their mother saying that she was not afraid, but was rather in awe of the things that her sister could do. In 1862, Mrs. Tyler had a vision of the future that her husband was choking and dying. She rushed to him, but he was fine, but it still frightened her. So she told everyone she knew about her vision as if to warn them. 2 days later, that vision came true. He died exactly as she had envisioned it.
Even though she told people like, hey,
To be
like he
looking out
was
for it.
choking. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That's
So,
when you need like something to like suck out whatever, like
yeah.
ugh,
I mean, the
ugh.
Heimlich maneuver, they should have been ready.
For real.
Although they
Like
they
she
probably
told
thought
everyone,
they probably
"Oh,
thought
this is
she was
crazy
loony.
lady."
Yeah.
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 Too bad it took the death of her like beloved.
Yeah. All
Jeez.
right. The next one is Jane Pierce. She was the wife of Franklin Pierce, the 14th president. And when Pierce was campaigning to become president of the United States in 1853, he was on board a train with his wife, Jane, and his 11-year-old son, Benny. And the train got into an accident and the car fell off the tracks and little Benny didn't make it. And
Oh.
so, yeah, the celebration of him winning president was overshadowed by the loss of their son. And to make
Ugh.
things even more tragic, they had already lost another kid a few years
Oh.
before.
Oh.
So Jane Pierce became obsessed with trying to contact her son Benny from beyond the grave. So the first thing she did was write a cathartic letter to her dead son explaining how she felt guilty and like a horrible mother. She eventually invited a famous trio of spiritualists, the Fox sisters that you talked about
Hmm.
earlier,
Hmm.
into the White House to conduct a seance to contact Benny. After the seance, Jane Pierce wrote a letter to her sister explaining that she had vivid dreams where the ghost of Benny came to speak to her and she felt a weight lifted off of her soul.
Aw.
Yeah. Mary Todd Lincoln, this is probably the most famous.
This is the one
Um,
I was gonna. I was like,
yeah.
oh, wasn't there one with Abraham Lincoln?
Yep.
Yeah.
And there actually is a lot more to the stuff that went on with Mary Todd Lincoln
Hmm.
spiritually in that
For
White
some
House.
reason, I know this. I know a lot about this for some
Hmm.
reason, and I don't know why. I just do.
I think we talked about her a little bit in another episode, but I don't remember which one. But obviously, she was the wife of Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president. She had dreams about her husband being assassinated. She also claimed that she could see her two dead children, Willie and what was the other one? Eddie,
Hmm.
standing at the edge of her bed every night, smiling at her. Eddie
Aw.
was sometimes there. And so she began inviting famous mediums to the White House to conduct what she called calls to the dead, which she
Mm.
did in the Red Room of the White House. Abraham Lincoln was actually very supportive of her hobbies.
Okay.
He even attended the scenes together with her. He actually didn't believe in it,
We love a
but
supportive husband.
he was super supportive of her, loved her dearly, absolutely adored
Mhm.
this woman. And she actually foresaw his assassination.
Oh.
I know. Years after his death, many people have claimed that they've seen visions of Abraham Lincoln's ghost roaming the halls of the White House. He
Oh,
is the
really?
most famous ghost that actually is at the White House.
But why would he stick around?
I don't know. And the first one claiming to see him was Grace Coolidge, was First Lady Grace Coolidge. And the Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, saw Abraham Lincoln's ghost.
Oh, wow.
And in 1942, Queen Wilhelmina from the Netherlands was visiting the White House, and she heard a knock on her door around midnight. And when she opened the door, Abe Lincoln's ghost was standing there, and she fainted. But ghost sightings about Abe Lincoln have continued for years and years and years.
Wow.
This isn't
Why in
related,
the White
but
House? Like he's like in the White House, but he was assassinated in a
and a
theater.
theater, yeah.
Hmm.
But I think the episode that oh God, went right out of my head. We had talked about him, doppelgangers, and he had an encounter with his own doppelganger, which
Oh,
freaked him
yeah.
out. And so he was very supportive of her, but was definitely a skeptic, didn't really believe in any of
Yeah,
it.
but if you meet your doppelganger, you die.
Very, very interesting that he now
Oh.
still
But
hangs around the White
but
House.
who was this doppelganger that looked exactly like Abe Lincoln?
I don't know. It was a vision that he had, and he didn't even believe in visions.
Interesting.
And his wife actually, after he passed, hired a spiritual photographer. And there's this famous photo out there that allegedly has her with the ghost of Abraham Lincoln behind her in the photograph. Yeah, you can
Oh,
look it up on
wow.
the internet. Very interesting.
I might do that.
There were some infamous seances as well. In 1941, this one is very strange, can't really be explained. In 1941, in the midst of World War II, a mother whose son was a soldier in the British Royal Navy was desperate for news of her son's well-being. She approached a psychic named Helen Duncan, asking her to contact the spirits for news. 2 Navy lieutenants were present for this seance. Through the spirits, Duncan stated that the woman's son had unfortunately been lost when the HMS Barham had sunk. The 2 lieutenants were immediately suspicious because the news of that battleship sinking had not yet been revealed to the public. The 2 went undercover. They sent 2 undercover officers to another seance with Duncan, and they arrested her. She was tried under the Witchcraft Act of 1735, which forbade fraudulent spiritual activity. That was that law we talked about where it wasn't illegal to be a witch, it was illegal to pretend to be a witch. And because of her infamous seances, Duncan was the last person ever tried for witchcraft.
Oh, wow.
And, I'm like, she knew stuff that people couldn't know.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And yet they arrested her for pretending to be a psychic. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I just looked at that picture, by the way.
Cool, right?
I don't believe it.
I know. I don't either.
It's so crisp.
Yeah.
For a picture in that time.
Although who's
who
to
knows?
say? But
knows?
yeah, I don't think it was real either, but I'm not going to say because he's still hanging out at the White House. So
true.
The progressive rock band, the Mars Volta, had its own experience with contacting the afterlife shortly before recording their album Bedlam in Goliath. And unfortunately, dabbling with the occult apparently had serious consequences for the band. While traveling in Jerusalem, the band purchased and used a Ouija board.
Oh.
In fact, the band members state that their sessions with the Ouija board were the inspiration for the album Bedlam and Goliath. They were excited to begin recording it, but it seemed that they had been cursed with a string of bad luck. So first, the studio where they were supposed to record the album flooded 2 times, not just once, but twice. Then
twice, once and twice are coincidence. You have to have that
Yeah.
third time to where it's not.
Well, then their engineer that was supposed to help them record it had a nervous breakdown, and then their longtime producer almost quit.
Oh.
And then on a few occasions, they would record the track onto however they did it back then, and only to have it disappear from the computer. And then finally, when singer Cedric Bixler Zavala injured his foot, the band had had enough. They set fire to the Ouija board, buried its ashes where no one could find it.
No.
And then the rest of the album was recorded as planned.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, set fire to the Ouija board and release everything. Great.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a no-no. Although they did bury the ashes, so maybe, I don't know.
So, I mean,
maybe they buried it in a salt circle or something. I have no idea.
Probably not.
Probably not. There is another entity that has come to be known with seances because he doesn't appear
we don't say the name.
I have to say his name.
Just say it once and then say the entity for the rest.
Okay. Because he appears, or it, whatever I guess, appears not just at any random seances. And his name is Zozo. So I'm not going to say that anymore. But he is terrifying because he made appearance at numerous seances over the years. And no one is certain where he came from. But he often has knowledge that he should have no way of knowing when he appears at a seance. And the most frightening thing about this entity, other than his apparent love at appearing unbidden at these seances, is his ability to control and manipulate those he comes into contact with. Sometimes he uses this ability to play tricks, and at other times his games are much more sinister. Ugh. For example, in 2012, 2 teenagers decided to play with the Ouija board, and the seance ended when one of the boys stabbed his friends to death. And after he was arrested, he told the police that entity had instructed him to kill his friend.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
See, but then that raises like the question of like when you die or whoever, like let's say this entity was a person, when you die, you're like enlightened, so you know everything that happens from beginning to end of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And then this entity just uses it for evil and malevolence.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's just a theory, a thought.
Yeah, I don't know. Because again, we don't know what these entities that we come into contact with are. Are they people who have been alive and died? Are they demons? Are they aliens? Are they something from another dimension? I don't know.
I don't know.
But seances are pretty cool. Yeah, I'm curious. And when I get curious, that's often a bad thing.
I mean, it's not. You just do a lot of like you want to go and do it.
I know I do. I can't help it. I want to go see. Don't touch that. It's hot, but is it really hot? Maybe if I touch it, it won't be hot.
Yes, it's hot. No, it's hot if they tell you it's hot.
Yeah, I'm sure my poor parents were frustrated with me because I've been this way my entire life. But that's all I found on seances. What about you?
That's everything. And I know there's a lot more that we didn't touch on, obviously.
We could probably do many more episodes, and we may at some point do another episode on seances. But that was exciting. I really liked the part about the first ladies and the White House.
Yeah, I like that part a lot. I forgot that I knew about the White House being a seance hub until just now. But I knew that.
In another, I mean, there were more first ladies, like Kennedy's wife embraced that red room. And so she had famous pictures taken of her kids in their Halloween costumes done in the red room because that was where the seances were. And then like Hillary Clinton, she was fascinated with the prospect of unidentified flying objects. And she felt like the documents surrounding those reports ought to be released because the public has a right to know if there has been true alien contact or not. And so she would walk around. There are pictures of her where she's got UFO books and that kind of thing. So interesting stuff happens in the White House. You want to do the outro?
Sure. So Thank you guys for listening. You can find more about us at www.c3witchypodcast.com. There you will find our episodes, links to our merch, links to our social media, and more. If you love our podcast, why not support us? It takes a
Yes.
lot to produce these shows, so help us out. You can support us at Buzzsprout and, I know we've explained this, Buzzsprout and Patreon, but Buzzsprout's where you just get to listen to our episodes on the same platform that you usually listen. And then Patreon is Patreon is where you can get our bonus episodes, but also a whole ton of little goodies.
Mm-hmm.
Back to our social media, we are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and we've been doing a lot on TikTok, so please go
Mm-hmm.
support us there. We've posted some really fun videos and like all of our stuff.
Leave us good reviews.
Like and comment and everything. Yes, and leave us reviews. Leave us reviews on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on iHeartRadio, on anything that you can listen to.
Even on Facebook, there's a place to leave reviews.
Yeah, you comment on our Facebook. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. All of that. And I think that's it. I think I touched everything.
I think so. So we'll be back.
We'll be back.
And until then, stay witchy.